Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. And today in this video, we're going to be, well, taking a look at some stuff with the Apple II Plus. Oh, whoops, the Apple II Plus here. This is actually a video I did not actually plan on doing, and it's not scripted, so a lot of it's going to have to be, I'm sure, cut out. I'm going to be, rambling off and on. This was actually not a video I planned on making. I actually intended to test a lot of this hardware and software out, either behind the scenes or on my off time or whatever. And well, since there's just so much Apple II stuff I need to go through, I figured, why not do some videos and lives on it sporadically and keep rolling with it. And well, that's what we're doing in this video. We're going to be plugging some stuff into this Apple II Plus, see how much things work. So let's just get into it and see what we're going to be doing. So for a quick recap, this Apple II Plus here is one that I picked up within the past year from a very generous gentleman that I had gotten in contact with from a throwaway comment on a Facebook posting. Long story short, this gentleman contacted me and said that he had a bunch of Apple stuff and asked if I was interested, which obviously I am. I thought he was going to talk about like a couple boxes of floppies and maybe a couple of things here or there. No, this guy, the first batch of stuff he brought me was an Apple III, an Apple IIe, this II Plus, boxes of floppies and software and hardware and documentation, schematics, all this kind of stuff. And turns out this guy was a technician with the engineering department of Apple up until about 84. And then the second wave of stuff, which again, there's been videos and I also did a live on, he brought even more stuff, 9 boxes this time of just inbox software, more floppies, bunches of more hardware and documentation, including some pretty rare, hard to find documentation that I'm going to be getting out into the community. And he's not done yet. He says he has a lot more stuff, but that's not what we're going to be talking about in this video. Anyway, in regards to the Apple II Plus, I did in a prior video get this thing cleaned up and working. It wasn't immaculate shape. It just needed a good wipe down, blow the dust out of the keyboard, and throw some power at it. And it just powered up and worked. And obviously, yes, it wasn't perfect. There was a couple little issues running some diagnostic software. Turns out there was a dead RAM chip on the 16K language card, which once I got that replaced, it bumped it back up to the full 64K and everything just worked on it. It is a perfectly functional Apple II Plus. It's in an immaculate shape. And I just love the way it looks sitting behind me. But it's been missing something. And it's a piece of hardware I was trying to track down for the longest time. Not just for the Apple II Plus, but for my Bell & Howell unit as well, because I like using physical media and physical hardware. And in that last batch of hardware that this guy brought, I finally have one, an Apple Disk 2 drive. The disk drive that was for the Apple II line of computers. Not just the Apple II Plus, even though, yes, if you look at a lot of pictures and stuff online, these Disk 2s were synonymous with the 2 and 2 Plus. These also came with the early and I think mid-range of the Apple IIe. In fact, I think it wasn't up until the Apple IIe Enhanced and the IIe Platinum that they switched from this to the much later 5.25 drive that's with my Apple II GS. Just like the Apple II Plus is in immaculate shape, so is this Disk 2 drive. It's got no scuffs, no scratches, no dents. It's an all metal chassis as far as I can tell. It is just in gorgeous shape. So I have no doubt this thing might just work. But that's what we're going to be doing today, is testing this drive out with this 2 Plus with one of the Disk 2 cards that came with all of this stuff. Obviously, it all worked at some point, but it's been in storage for 30 years plus, so who knows what could have gone wrong and when. Especially considering that this thing the entire time has had a floppy disk stuck in it. So who knows if that did anything to the read-write head. But hopefully, fingers crossed, everything works. On top of the Disk 2 controller, we're going to be installing a Super Serial card and a Microsoft Z80 soft card for some future CPM fun. Don't know if I'm going to get to testing either of these out in this video, but because I'm kind of hoping this thing's going to be relatively short. I am trying to avoid releasing, half-hour plus long videos back to back to back. So hopefully everything just works out and this video ends up being somewhat short and entertaining. So let's just get to it and see how well it works. And here we are, the gorgeous Apple II Plus. And actually my camera lighting is messing with it. It's not actually, it looks paler on camera than it actually is. It's still kind of a tan color, but not yellowed, which is really good. And I do need to fix that hook and loop thing that holds this thing down. But as you can see, we have no expansion cards. We are as bare bones as an Apple II can get, except for the fact this does have the 16K language card, which bumped us up from 48K to 64K. All right, first things first, the disk controller, which is, you can put this in really any slot. And now for the drive, unlike the later ones, which have the D-sub connector, this has the old style pin header. And it's really important. There's a red stripe on this. This has to go towards pin 1 on the controller card, which is way over here. So when plugged in correctly, it should look like that. And don't, overlap or try to skip a pin. Bad things will happen. Make sure it gets lined up in the right way. Put on the lid, the monitor for this particular machine. Okay, now we got the monitor hooked back up. And I'll admit, I don't fully, it looks goofy with this Apple. This is an Apple IIe era, 2C era monitor. It's basically the monochrome version of the RGB one that's on top of my 2GS. It's originally meant for the 2E, 2E Enhanced, and 2E Platinum, but it's good enough for now until I fix the other two monitors I have for this. So power this up, and we're going to pop in System Master DOS 3.3. All right, fingers crossed. Ooh, well, that's a problem. I don't have anything on screen. Uh-oh. What happened? Oh, did this monitor just go out? Well, that's not good. That's not good. Okay. Well. Well, I guess I'm having more problems than I thought. Huh. Okay. I'm not sure what's... Oh. Okay. Okay, that was weird. So I unplugged everything, and this little trimmer pot here that does absolutely, for color trim, I just bumped it and everything worked. Okay, so back to testing. One sec. Now let's retry this. Okay. That's a lot quieter than... Oh, look at that. Yeah, not only does the drive just work, it works perfect. Oh, that is awesome. All right. Okay, so like I said, I'm not going to be testing any of these cards out today, I don't think, because, well, I just wasted way too much time trying to get this thing to work. But we're going to install a super serial card so I can do some stuff later, because I do want to test out the Image Writer 1 I got with this machine. And this is going to be the perfect card for it. I'm going to put this into slot 2. This might, I don't know if it's going to cause problems or not, because I don't have a 80 column card, but I do have a Z80 card. And this should open up a few options of what I can do with this machine. So pop this in and see what happens. This goes into slot 4. All right, and we're going to try and boot up. This is CardCat 1.9. It's a little bit old and outdated. I think they're up to 2.1 now. But basically what this is it has a program that's going to read all the slots, read what the ROM code is, and then display what's in it. And if the card is working, it should display what it is. If it's not working, then it probably won't display anything. All right. Okay. That's not wanting to boot. Oh, I wonder what's going on. Okay, I'm having a lot of problems with this. Okay. All right, I'm having a problem now. Okay, so something is not working correctly. I don't know what just happened. But I've been fighting the past 15 minutes, trying things. I think one of my floppies must have got the heads dirty on this drive. I'm going to, just for a sanity check, I'm going to grab my known good one off my 2GS with the later controller card. And I just want to see if it'll boot back into something, because I just need a sanity check. Okay, so like I said, this is just a sanity check because it did boot DOS earlier, and then as soon as I plugged in the Z80 card and the CPM, or, I'm sorry, the Z80 card and the Super Zero card, now then nothing wanted to boot. So I wonder if I just need to. I wonder if one of these floppies fouled the heads on this other drive. I'm gonna have to be clean. So sanity check. I'm just going to use a known working drive. You know, it's kind of like that AC/DC song, "Dirty Discs Done Fouled Heads," because I think that's how the song goes. Okay. Yep. Can't see it, but ProDOS 2.4.2. So it is sanity checked. This thing is working. So let's power that back down, reinstall the cards I installed, and just see if it'll do something then. So it's booting ProDOS now, which is good. Try CardCat again. Okay, so it's reading. Okay, so something must have just happened with that drive. It must have fouled it out or something. Launching CardCat 1.9, checking system configuration. Yeah, this is just going to run through a slot and see what's in there. All right, so we have no firmware card in 1, Super Serial in 2, none in 3, Z80 in 4, none in 6, 5.2 interface card at 6, and none in 7. Okay, so yeah. Oh, this is done by a guy named Henry Lowe. So I couldn't remember that right away. So it's Henry Lowe did this. It is working. Good. We have memory, 16K language card in slot 0, CPU 6502. All right, so now that I know that this whole system's working now, let's see if it'll run CPM. Since I went through all this effort, I now want to see this thing do something else. And I believe I have the right one. This is Microsoft CPM version 2.23. This should be the one for the generic CPM soft card. Look at that. Look at that. Soft card CPM. This is awesome. We got G Basic, M Basic. Look at this. Is awesome. I'm running CPM on an Apple II. This is cool. And it's in 40 column mode. So I guess I didn't need an 80 column card. Just for fun, I have something called ALDS Microsoft for CPM. I wonder what this is. Like, I'm excited for this. This is cool. Ooh, we have transfer CPM, transfer lib 80. What's demo? A demo. Do I need this? I have no idea how to run CPM for Apple II. Okay, so obviously, as you can see, I have no idea how to run CPM at all, and not just the Apple II thing here. It's the CPM in general. I know DOS is based off CPM, and I know a little bit about how to run DOS, but CPM is a little bit different. It's not as well, it's not as clear cut as DOS can be. A lot of the commands are pretty straightforward. I need to look up how to use CPM because this is awesome. I actually wasn't expecting this to work out as well as it did. And yeah, I know that I could learn how to use CPM on some other machines, but the only other machines I have that can run CPM is the PC clones and my Osborne luggable. Besides that, I haven't really messed with CPM all that much. It's mainly been, well, DOS and BASIC and Windows, and obviously Workbench with my Amiga, but that's splitting hairs. Anyway, I am actually thrilled that everything, for a bit anyway, was working just fine. The Disc 2 controller worked. The Disc 2 did work for a little bit, and then it quit. I think there's a fouled head. I'm going to have to tear it apart and clean it. That's going to be in another video if that's not the point of this video. But yeah, the Z80 card works just fine. I'm not testing Super Zero card out just yet, but it did detect it, which means at the very least, most of the card is working to where it could be detected. So hopefully, when I get to testing the, I need to fix this. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's been a few days since I messed with the Apple II Plus here, and well, I can't leave it where I left it, which was this drive no longer working. So my original intention with that was, again, it was a spur of the moment video. I just wanted to see if this disk drive would work. And my thought process was, well, I'll just put in a drive card that I know works, this Disk 2 controller card, because I've used it in my Bell & Howell unit with this floppy emulator to get it to function. So I knew the card was working, and I thought, well, I'll just test this drive out. Oh, well, what's a good way to test it? Hey, I'll boot into DOS and ProDOS and then try a program out. Well, what program? Oh, I know. I'll just throw a couple cards in here and see if CardCat would detect them, because then I'll know the slots work. And if it reads the ROM code for the cards displayed on the card catalog, then it would. That means the ROM's working for those cards at least. That was my thought process. And unfortunately, this thing, it just didn't work after that first time it booted DOS 3.3, and I had no idea what's going on. And my intention was, oh, I'll just deal with it later in a later video, because I want to test out some more cards and hardware anyway. So I'll just do it all later in sporadic videos. But no, I can't. I can't just leave it there, because I want this Apple II Plus to be basically done and don't have to mess with it anymore. So um, we're going to see if we can get. I'm going to see if I can get this thing diagnosed a little bit. By first, we're going to retest this original Disc 2 controller card, and then try these other two that I got along with all this hardware as well. One of them, actually no, they're all three 16 sector cards. None of them are the 13 sector cards, which is fine, because I really don't have a need for 13 sector cards, because realistically these can boot 13 sector ones. You just got to do some weird stuff with DOS. But we're going to test these and make sure all three drive controllers work. Hopefully, hopefully. And then we're going to retackle this drive here and see what the heck's going on, because it makes no sense that it booted DOS 3.3 and then immediately started failing to read anything. So we're going to get this hooked back up to the Apple II Plus and see what's going on. Okay, so I got the monitor back over here. Let's try this original disc controller card. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Like, it booted DOS 3.3. You all saw it. And I misspoke. I misspoke earlier when I said it had to be in slot 6. It's either slot 5 or 6. There's some weirdness where some ProDOS games are expecting it to be in slot 6, because that was the 2E era stuff, if I'm thinking correctly. So yeah, it should be 5 or 6. It really doesn't matter, but just for sanity's sake, we're going to put it into slot 5 and see if that changes anything. I have floppies here that are all just for the 2 Plus. They either specifically say 2 Plus on them, or they're meant for the 2 Plus. Like we have, well, this one says program examples for the 64K 2 Plus, ProDOS 1, Apple Term 2, the modem utility program for the 2 Plus, Apple How To for the 2 Plus, PFS file sorter for the 2 Plus. Yeah, so this is all 2 Plus stuff. So anyway, DOS 3.3 master. Okay. Not sure well you can see it, but it did boot. DOS version 3.3 system master, January 1st, 1983. So we're back to where we were earlier with this now booting and working. So I'm going to test those other two cards and see if it'll boot DOS 3.3. And there is a difference between these two cards. There's kind of a color difference for the PCBs. One's more of a like olive green, and one's more of a bright green. But it doesn't matter. They're all 16 sector. Okay, yep. Look at that. It is reading. Loading enter basic into memory. Okay, so now I should be able to catalog. Oops. Okay, disk volume 254. Okay, so this card's working. Come on. Come on. Okay, and this one, which is in the bag, which is not new in the bag, it has been used. But yeah, 16 sector card. There is a part number here that doesn't match. Ooh, wait a minute. This one says 650-9104, and these have a part number of X104. So I wonder if this one was originally a 13 sector and it was upgraded to 16 sector. Okay, so all three cards are working just fine. Good. So now sanity checked, that means that the drive's working. Let's see if it'll launch ProDOS. That's where I started having problems. Unable to load ProDOS. Okay, so that's where my problem is. It's not that it's not reading ProDOS. So what would cause that? But just in case, I'm going to try a different ProDOS disk, just in case it's not a... Let's try ProDOS 2.4.2. Okay, I'm able to load ProDOS. Just for fun, let's try ADD Pro, which is ProDOS based. Unable to load ProDOS. Okay, so 3 out of 3, this thing will not read anything ProDOS based. That's weird. Do I have anything that's just DOS based? For your Apple II with AppleSoft ROM card or Apple II Plus with 48K and 1 floppy disk drive. So this should be a DOS based software, so it should boot. Or should work at least. Strategic. Okay, it's reading it. Yes. Okay. What is going on here? The Shattered Alliance. Okay, what the heck is going on? Oh, it's one thing after another. Okay, so without everything else, my audio just cut out because my lapel mic just acted up. But anyway, so I'll have to deal with all that. This image editor toolkit did not want to boot either, so I'm still having an issue. So now we're down to, there's something weird going on with this floppy drive because it boots DOS-based stuff, kinda. It boots DOS 3.3 and that, but it will not boot anything that's ProDOS based, which is very concerning. So, I guess I'm to do some research and see what's going on with this frickin' drive because I am so confused. Okay, so I decided to Google the symptoms of this, and I also decided to try and ask on Discord. And what I got some information on was it's possible that the speed adjustment is wrong, which I don't know how it could have got knocked out of alignment for that, but it's possible it happened. Okay, and here we have the internals of the very, very basic and bare bones Disc 2. And no, I didn't remove anything besides the outer casing. It's just this. It's just this mechanism and this tiny little board here, known as the Disc 2 analog card. Yeah, really bare bones, basic and simple. A little bit of a backstory with this. This was Steve Wozniak's little brainchild here. He wanted a dirt simple, disk drive for the Apple II series. And so a lot of the disk drives on the market that were for the mini computers, the Centurions, the Burroughs, the DEC, PB, and all that kind of stuff, the disk drives were very, very complicated and complex with all their circuitry and then controller cards and all that stuff. He just wanted something simple. So he designed the interface board, and he basically just contacted the company. I think it was Shugart or Alps. I don't remember exactly which one. I remember vaguely hearing both names on an Adrian's Digital Basement video, but basically bought a whole bunch of these bare bones, no electronics drives. Was built and designed and built the analog boards and the interfaces, so they would just work, and they did just work. As for what I found on Google, it's very interesting, and also kind of stupid too, and how simple it could be. So the DOS 3.2, DOS 3.2.1, and DOS 3.3 for the Apple II, they're not very speed sensitive. They don't really care what speed it is. It'll still read the disk. I mean, obviously, if it's like 1 RPM, it'll have problems, but as long as it's within a range of RPM, it'll read the disk just fine. ProDOS and copy protected floppies, though, were really specific in their parameters. ProDOS was required to run at 300 RPM. So if this drive, for any reason throughout its age, motor getting a little weak over the year, whatever, drifted from that 300 RPM, it won't boot ProDOS, which is the exact issue I'm having. So hopefully I can adjust the timing on this and get it to read the ProDOS. So I'm going to try that. But that comes with a few problems. So how do we get this back into calibration? Or try to anyway, if that's what's actually going on. Well, the best method is to use an oscilloscope and special um, diagnostic floppies to get this thing to spin up to the right speed, oscilloscope for the waveform, and then you adjust it from there. That's the best way to do it. Another way to do it is to use a old style fluorescent light, because these flicker at 60 hertz. So you basically turn the adjustment knob as it's spinning, spinning, spinning until the guide wheel on the bottom of the motor basically appears to be sitting still. Now, unfortunately, I don't have, ironically, any of those old school fluorescent lights down here. I've switched everything to LED, which is not flickering at 60 hertz, unfortunately. So we're going to use the third method, which is to use a program known as Locksmith to, well, get this thing calibrated. But there's another problem with that. The problem is, according to the documentation for Locksmith, which I decided to read up on as many versions as I could in case there was changes, was you boot Locksmith into a known good drive, and then you select the drive that's faulty and run the program, and then it'll just constantly run the floppy here, and you make the adjustment as it's spinning. The problem is you have to use a blank disk, so it will, because it destroys the data on the disk. So in order to use it on this drive would have to be good enough to boot into Locksmith, run Locksmith, pop it out, pop in a blank one, and then go from there. Or use a second drive. The problem is, this is the only disk 2 drive that I have. And that's kind of what I was expecting you to use 2 drives on one controller card, which I don't have a second drive. I do have the Slater 5 1/4 drive, but it won't be on the same controller card as the one that this one would boot from. And I don't want to run the risk of it misinterpreting what disk I would pick, because according to the documentation, it doesn't say anything about you using multiple drive controllers. So, how are we going to fix this? We are going to be using this little SD card emulator here. I've had this for a few years. You may have seen this on the channel before. I use it on my Bell & Howell unit when I was trying to diagnose some RAM issues. Basically, it's just a little, I think it's an FPGA of some kind that's programmed to emulate the standard disk 2 here and be able to read any Apple disk images that are in a .dsk format. It has to be .dsk, not .po. I've tried this. This does not like ProDOS. So I've got Locksmith loaded onto this SD card. We're going to boot Locksmith as drive 1, and then we're going to plug drive 2 into disk 2 on the card, put in a blank floppy, and calibrate. And hopefully it works. Because if it doesn't, I don't know what I'm going to do. So let's just try to see that. Now, yes, I'm sure there's probably a way to get it to work with 2 different disk drives and all that kind of stuff, but I want to make this simple as I can. Obviously, if this doesn't work, I'm going to have to go try something else. Hopefully, I can adjust it on that speed control potentiometer, because if not, there may be issues with this drive. And I will say real quick, if I can at least get this drive to consistently read floppies, it's weird it doesn't read ProDOS, but if that's the limitation for this drive, is it won't read ProDOS for whatever reason, maybe a weak read-write head, or maybe the potentiometer just isn't very precise, then we'll deal with it and go from there. But for right now, let's just boot this thing up and see what happens. Okay, booted into Locksmith. Okay, so I need a blank disk. Okay, so we want disk speed S. Okay, so the documentation here gives me 3 options: 300 RPM, optimum, recommended, or same as the original diskette. According to documentation, 300 RPM is what this thing should be at. Optimum is if I'm trying to do disk copy or copy protected disks or whatever, and I need to tweak the speed. So I'm gonna go with 300. Output drive is 2. Warning: Locksmith function destroys data on target disk. Okay, so we want, I'm going to go fine adjustment, close as we can, number of samples. Okay, insert output diskette for disk speed in slot 5, output drive 2. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm actually a little fast. So we're going to slow that down. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it now, but now I am right on that line. Well, no, yeah, right on that line. Okay. Well, that wasn't too bad. Okay, so now we're going to go cut this off. I'm going to switch these drives. DOS 3.3 master. See if we actually maintain functionality. Okay, so it still boots. DOS 3.3. Okay, so yep, we have this volume. Good. Now let's try the image writer toolkit. Ooh, so I want to read that. Unable to look. Oh no. Okay. Interesting. We still boot DOS though. Okay. So it's booting DOS 3.3. Good, but it's not wanting to boot anything ProDOS. Okay. Lessons in computing and calculating. Okay, well, that's weird. That's so weird. Okay. Well, I'm going to call this here. Well, not the whole thing. There's one more thing I do want to do that I got working between the first part and this part. But as for the disc 2, I'm going to have to just call it right here because, I don't know what. This is a very weird failure. I don't know where to go from here at all. All three disc 2 interface cards, this one and then these two, they're all 16 sector. I double checked with the ICs. They're all seemingly working. They all boot DOS 3.3. So they are all three working. The disk drive does function. It boots DOS 3.3 and it boots DOS-based floppies like these games up here and a couple other things that I have set aside for the Apple II Plus that should work with it. It's just, it doesn't like ProDOS for some reason. It won't boot ProDOS. And this is a very weird failure. And from what I read online, if these disk drives will boot DOS but not ProDOS, it's a possible speed issue because the older disk .dsk format speed wasn't all that important. It was, but it wasn't. It could be a range. But ProDOS and some copy protected stuff required it to be 300 RPM. And with the stuff I had down in my room here, I was able to calibrate that. I was able to use Locksmith 6.0 on this SD card and get it tuned to 300 RPM. Something is just not liking something. And I mean, it could be some of these floppies that are just not wrote correctly, but I find it weird that they all work with the newer 5 1/4 floppy. And the fact that this thing does not like ProDOS stuff does limit what this machine can do. I won't be able to use the image writer toolkit, which this image writer 1 would work perfect with this Plus. I'm not sure what else to really do. Because the analog board does seem to be working. It's just, for some reason, it's not wanting to read ProDOS, which to me is starting to sound like I'm still leaning towards that. I'm leaning towards that speed control board. I just don't know what on it could be acting up. I guess the only real way to, well, to fix this is to get another one of these disk 2 drives, or at least the speed control board out of one, and swap it into this chassis and see if it fixes it. And if it does, there's something weird with this control board. I don't really know. I'll have to just watch some more videos of people diagnosing these things and going from there. So I'm going to get this put back together and try one more thing out on the Apple II Plus here. So last year around this time was when I picked up the first wave of Apple stuff. Well, that just completely blew my mind with all I picked up. And in that was two 2Es, two Apple II monitors, an image writer 2, and all that stuff. And when I power tested everything, one of the monitors was completely flat, clear, dead, didn't want to do anything. And then the other one would vertically collapse after about 10 seconds. Check this out. Obviously, there's a few issues. It's not quite fully right, but it is working. I can see an image. And it looks awesome. I am completely just blown away with how cool this looks. It's awesome. So this video did not go anywhere how I thought it was going to when I first started this spur of the moment thing. In fact, I'm pretty sure I blew past the I want a short sub 30-minute video with a long shot with all this footage I have. Because I actually wasn't fully expecting or anticipating this 2 to work kind of first shot. I kind of was expecting it to have issues. It was in an attic for 30 years, and God knows if it's going to work. But it just did. Okay, and I'll admit, it's 50% functional. I'll admit that. It reads DOS 3.3 stuff seemingly only. It will not read ProDOS stuff, which I don't think it's the controller functions not function correctly. I think it's the drive. I don't know what's going on there. I mean, obviously it limits what this thing can do in the future. I do want to get that sort of figured out. I don't know what it could be, because I've used Locksmith and software tools to get the drive calibrated to 300 RPM, which is where it should be for ProDOS. It's just not wanting to boot ProDOS. And for all I know, that might be normal. I actually don't know. I'm only saying that because I can hear that whine. I only say that because this emulator here, which is using an SD card, is apparently a one-to-one emulator for the Disk 2 drive. This one, this old style one, and it in this cannot handle .po images, only .dsk, which is DOS 3.3 based. It absolutely cannot handle .po unless I convert it to .dsk. So with that, I'm kind of wondering what would happen if I did write a ProDOS 2.4.2 or whatever to a .dsk image instead of .po, and see if it boots from there. I actually don't know how. I don't know. I don't know. It's really confusing to me. But again, maybe that's normal. I could swear these Disk 2 drives were ProDOS compatible. I don't know why that would be even a thing, why it wouldn't, but I don't know. I'll have to do some work to get into it. But for right now, this is a gorgeous setup, especially with the original Disk 2 drive, the Apple II Plus, and now this working Apple II monitor, which is for the Apple II Plus and the 2E. It was mostly meant for the 2 Plus, and it ended up going on to the 2.3s or the 2Es as well. But it looks perfect here, and it's now a complete Apple II Plus setup. And like I said before, this thing was completely dead. And as you can see, it's not as bright as it should be. There's something I need to adjust on it. But you're probably wondering, what did I do to fix it? Well, if you're expecting a repair video, don't yet, because I literally just took this thing apart to get the capacitor values and stuff and the IC numbers so I could start replacing caps and doing some diagnosing on both of them to get them both working. I put it all back together, and there was a little thought in my head like, well, I unplugged and plugged stuff back in. Maybe it'll work. I don't know. Plus, it'll look cool when it's all look cool on there for a B-roll shot. And it actually worked. I'm actually blown away by that point. But yeah, I have a fully working Apple II Plus setup now with original Disk 2 and a Apple II monitor. As for future stuff with this, now that it's all set up with a Disk 2 drive, well, obviously I need to get the Disk 2 thing figured out. And if there is an issue with it running ProDOS stuff, then I'll just install this alongside this 2 controller card. That way I can run that later 5.25 drive if I need anything ProDOS based, because I will need ProDOS to run this image writer 2. Well, at least the image writer toolkit for it that tests everything out on it. Because that's something I want to get done, is get this image writer 1 tested, see if it works, see how well it works, and then get it set up with the Apple II Plus here, which means I need to get that serial card figured out for it. That's a future thing I need to get sorted. And then also learn CPM, so I can use that CPM 40 column and 40 column mode. And then, well, see if any of these joysticks and paddles work. That's something I need to do in a future thing. So this thing is almost fully 100% set up as a 2 Plus thing could. I've got a Image Writer 1, I have the 2 Plus, the Era monitor, and now a disk drive. Everything is coming together perfectly with this. That's all future stuff. I got a list of things that I need to get done as well. So with that being said, thank you all so much for watching this, what should have been a short impromptu video, probably not short now, video of originally testing the disc 2 and then went off the rails onto things not working correctly. And either way, any thoughts or questions, put down in the comment section and I will get to them in a hopefully soon-ish manner. If you have any ideas as to what the heck the problem with this disc 2 drive is, please let me know. Maybe share this video to Adrian's Digital Basement, and maybe he might have an idea of what could be causing this disc 2 drive to only read DOS but not ProDOS. I mean, for all I know, this might be normal, like I said. I don't know. I would not expect it to not use ProDOS, but from there, I don't know. The controller cards are all working, so it's got to be something with the disc. This drive, not the discs. Be on the lookout for some more videos coming out in the future, not just for the Apple here, but a lot of the other computers in my computer room, plus some stuff coming in the game room once I get it all finished, nice and reorganized again from my disaster of my ADD kicking in. And yeah, hopefully the next Apple thing I'm going to be working on is either the Apple III or the early Apple IIe, so be on the lookout for those. And that being said, thank you all so much for watching the video, and I'll see you all in the next one. See you in the next one.